Hello guys, welcome back to the Crew Motorfest. What has become from this game? That is something I would like to have some answers on. Let me first do a few things which we have to do every time. Change the camera, because even after 3 years in this game, camera savement is not a thing. Every time you boot up the game, your camera is back to the low camera for some reason. The playlist is always on. You're always on this on this festival where the music is playing. If you don't go to the Ubisoft website and apply for being on the list to be neglected for the rights claims, then you're always going to get a rights claim for this as well. You can go to the website, you log in, and somewhere on the Motorfest site you will see that there is an option to apply for being on the list, and then a week or two you get a mail back that you're on the list, and from that moment on you can post videos without having a right claim on it. In this case we're in the festival area, which is a different radio thing, so you have to travel to somewhere else. So then you can open Miscara over here so that you can get to the music player and actually put up the radio, which is also a feature that it does not save. Tomorrow we have to do it, or later on if the game crashes or so, which is always a possibility, then we have to do that thing again. That whole procedure that I just did now, every time you log in with Motorfest, same thing. Change the camera, put camera waypoint away, switch to some other place where you can go and put up the radio. If you leave the radio on and you're doing YouTube videos, you might get a rights claim. Unless you're on the list, have to log on the website to put yourself on the list. Also something they never told us. All things you have to figure out yourself. 2026 Motorfest for you, in a nutshell. Big difference when the franchise started in 2014 with the Crew 1. I have about 4,000 hours in the Crew 1, about 3,000 hours in the Crew 2, and about 3,000 hours in Motorfest. So I'm approaching 10,000 hours in the franchise. The game has changed over time. Also, the game identity has changed over time. I don't know if that's a good thing. Lately, I am personally experiencing some frustrations after booting up the game. Usually after an hour or two, I sort of had it and I need to go out, because otherwise I'm going to start throwing with things. That's what has become of Motorfest nowadays. And then I think it was time to do an opinion video of it. Of course it's subjective, it is my opinion, but they're so far away from what they originally started with that you think like, what is going on? Where are they going with this? It started in the Crew 1 with some sort of story. No matter how cheesy that was, there was a story involved. You opened a map, which was a 2,000 square mile map that you could drive over, downscaled version of the USA. If you drove from Miami to New York, Detroit, all the way up to Salt Lake City, Seattle, back down to LA, and then Santa Fe, Dallas, Tampa, back to Miami, took you about 2 hours. This game, they gave us this year, Oahu, an island which you can drive around in about 15 minutes. In year 2 they added another island which you can drive around in about 10 minutes. So 25 minutes of gameplay versus 2 hours of gameplay in the Crew 1 and the Crew 2. Map was way bigger. Year 3 they gave us this thing here. The oval with the NASCAR. NASCAR physics are horrendous. If you want to drive the IRL liveries, you have to pay extra money, which we'll come back to that later, to be able to get all that thing going. Nobody's driving these things. They are changing the physics for these vehicles, which has impact, especially in the slipstream features. It has impact in Grand Race now as well. In my opinion, Season 10, the draw bump is completely broken. Probably a cause of this thing coming in. And then they came in with these 2 empty islands, being Molokai and Lanai, which are sandbox islands. You have this track force feature here, you can go there, they give you a few models of straight lines and corners that you can sort of put together, and in other words, It's some sort of track creator. You create your own tracks. People tested it out in the beginning in like 2-3 weeks time. There were about 120,000-130,000 tracks created. Again, Ivory Tower underestimated the community. They were not ready for that. 3 weeks in the season, they had to do an emergency update because they didn't have enough server capacity to make all these tracks go on their servers. So they come up with features and then, as usual, underestimate the community. They did not expect people to create that many tracks, let's put it that way. Like I said, 120,000-130,000 tracks created. That was in the first 2-3 weeks of the season. Meanwhile, the numbers dropped down drastically. People are bored with those tracks. The surface of those tracks is not very grippy either. It's like no matter what car you take, you slide all over the place. There's something wrong with the underground surface physics, I think, but some people are still doing it. And then for season 10, which started in July, they added a few more models. You can now do some drift tracks and so as well. So people grabbed it again and the numbers went up a little bit again, but the first 2-3 weeks, 120,000-130,000 tracks created. At the end of season 9, beginning of season 10, it was 160. So 130,000 in the beginning, and then the rest of the season, from time to time, 30,000 more. Now they brought in the drift models, so probably people are. I don't know actually. Let's have a look. What do we have now? Now that they brought in the drift models, are people trying it out or not? I have not touched that thing anymore, but. No, they're not. We're still not on 200,000. So even with the drift models, the numbers went up about 25,000 from what they were. So people are already like, I don't care. There are some people who are still creating tracks and have fun with it. And they probably stick around, and if they have some new models to play with, then the numbers go up for like 20,000. But the first 3 weeks, 130,000. That was in March. First 3 weeks of season 9, that is. 130,000 tracks created. The rest of the season, it was sort of... There were like 160, 165 at the end of the season, I think. Now we have the drift models, so people check those out. But the numbers barely went up. We're still under 200,000 tracks. So this is one of their features which, yeah, they tried it out. And I think it also was a placeholder, I think. What do I mean by that? Is that there was talk of the island on top there, that they were developing that for year 3, and more than likely it was not ready, and that's why they came up with these placeholders here. I think the original idea was to give us year 3 a new island again, and then year 4 come up with the track editor. But so many people were asking for the track editor, and at the same time, when they were asking for the track editor, I also don't think that they were thinking on something like this. They were thinking on a track editor like in the Crew 2, where you could create your own races on the islands that we have, not on 2 sandbox islands with some models that you are flying over the ground and whatnot. That's probably also why the numbers went down drastically. People are not, this was not what they were looking for. They wanted a proper track editor. So, and now meanwhile, technical tests have been going. The rumors of the hallways, as we call that, they got to us, so we know what's going on. We know that people have been testing. We know there will be some smaller islands, I believe on the west of Ohio, that will be added. Might be related to the track force, that they're gonna make some more modelers over there, who knows. And then we have Kauai, the 3rd island on top, which will be added at some point. This is a placeholder island again. Don't think that this is the island that you see there, that will be it. But you already see that you can go up to the north now and see the whole island. That's sort of similar as with Maui. That happened with Maui as well. They changed the size of that island as a placeholder. This is not the size of the island. Kauai will be maybe a little bit smaller or maybe a little bit bigger than Maui, but you can sort of expect something like this coming on the top. Kauai for year 4, that will more than likely will be season 11 October. There is a showcase in September, so in September they will share the information with us, which people in technical tests have already been playing on. That's sort of Motorfest in a nutshell for situational map size here. Which brings us to what is going on with the rest of the game. And those things are very questionable. I am more of a competitive person. That's the other thing, is you have the 3 C's within the community. The casuals, the cruisers, and the competitives. In the Crew 1, that was sort of, let's say 36% casuals, 33-34% cruisers, and 30-31% competitives. That was sort of more or less the division between the 3 groups. So pretty similar. Let's say 1/3 this, 1/3 that. Obviously, going to the Crew 2, they lost a bit of the cruisers because of boats and planes. The cruisers lost quite some race tracks or some routes to drive on, because they had to be replaced with some water here and there. Some mountains have been removed to drive through because, again, because rivers needed to be there. You needed to be able to go from New York to Seattle or from Miami to LA by boat. So they put some more water on the map to make that actually happen. You could indeed go as well on the north as the south, from the east to the west with a boat if you wanted to on that Crew 2 game. So some more replacement with waters. Now here we have these small islands. They completely lost the cruisers. Some cruisers might have checked out the game. Some cruisers completely skipped it because when the game came out, they only had Oahu to drive on compared to a 2,000 square mile USA map. So they, I don't know what the situation now is, but so they focused on a bit more new players, kids as well, casuals, more casual style, more neon vanities and whatnot, whatever can make them money. Then you are talking more about the Ubisoft side. Anything involved prizes goes to Ubisoft. Ivory Tower is more about the development and the features. In general, my feeling was always I support Ivory Tower, not necessarily Ubisoft. Because Ubisoft can be greedy, which we'll come back to that later on when we talk about $22 cars and so, which is a bit over the top if you already paid $120 for the game and $30 every year for a year pass. Then coming up with $22 cars this week, another $7 car. Something we're gonna have to talk about later on. So yeah, they lost already a bit of the cruisers, so I don't know what it is now. My feeling is it's about 70-30. That's my feeling. 70% casuals, 30% competitives, and the cruisers, they're somewhere in one of those categories now. They sort of blend in into the one of the 2 other groups because there's not enough time to drive, and most specifically not enough roads to drive on. That's sort of how that changed over time with the cruisers. In the Crew 1 they were there every day more or less. In the Crew 2 that was like maybe every other day, and then they played in the weekend. And in Motorfest, yeah, they might boot up the game in the weekend maybe, but that's it. It's like there's not enough roads to drive for these guys. These are guys that are driving around, just talking with their friends in Discord or whatever, and then just chilling and driving around, but there's not enough roads variety to drive on, right? So they're very often driving the same road, so they probably do only weekends if there's still cruises around. So they sort of blended in with the other groups. That is sort of where we are with the community aspect. But then we have the features of the game. They have made some changes over time, which are also very, very questionable. What do we have in Season 10? They added one playlist, which is unplayable. What do I mean by that? Is you can go in there, you can do some things, but you can't finish it. Because they started doing these stupid time locks again. They are locking things, they are loaning things, all things that we do not want. Right? We have 800 cars in our garage. We want to use our own vehicles with our own settings. We don't want to use some loaned vehicle. if we show up here, you know, people might work from 9 to 5 day job or whatever. They just have some time in the weekend to play. They want to show up in the weekend and do half this playlist, and then maybe next week the rest of the playlist. Let people do that. You need to give people that freedom. If you start doing these stupid time locks, nobody's up with that, right? And I will give you one example over here. Instead of 2 playlists per season, we are now only getting 1 playlist per season. They can do a whole hype video about it, more content coming, and no, you are giving us less content, Ivory Tower. You can turn and twist that no matter how. We're only getting 1 playlist instead of 2 a month per season. That is less content. If you look at on a yearly structure, we had seasons of 4 months with 2 playlists, so there was like 6 playlists a year. Now they switched to seasons of 3 months. So the seasons are shorter, but you only get 1 playlist, which means in a yearly time, we're only getting 4 playlists. That's 2 playlists less per year than we normally were getting. That is less content. Next to that, they gave us 4 of the 12 events to play, and that was it. The rest was blocked till it was August, where we could do another 4 playlists. And now we have to wait till September so we can finish actually this playlist. That is annoying, that is boring, that is counterproductive, because the only idea that they have here is, oh, but then we can maybe lure people back into come and play our game because they moved on, right? Some people moved to Forza, although that's also over. The numbers are dropping drastically in that game, as expected. That is a 2-3 months game, Forza Horizon, and then the rest move on again. But the same thing is not happening here. It's like not like what their idea was probably with this time lock was, oh, people will come into the beginning of the month and play the game for a bit. And then we'll bring them back in August again, and then we'll bring them back in September again. This is not what's going to happen. If you keep doing that with this time lock, then people are like, oh, we have a time lock playlist again? Okay, we'll see you in September when we can actually finish this playlist. And they will not play in July and August because we can't do anything in it anyway. You have 4 events, but you're not going anywhere with progression. Then you have 4 out of 12, and you need to wait another month to get another 4, and you need to wait another month to get this thing finished. They're taking away our freedom again. They have tried that again in the Crew 2 as well. Community completely revolted against that, and they got rid of it. But in this case, they're trying it again. Taking away our freedom. You need to have the freedom to play this thing whenever you want. And whenever you can, and whenever you have time. At your own time, at your own pace. You want to finish this thing in 2 hours? Be my guest. If you want to finish this thing in 2 months? Be my guest. But you need to have that freedom. Ivory Tower is now forcing us to show up here and do only a little bit. And then a little bit more the next month, and a little bit more. Just don't. Give us the whole playlist. Give the playlist in the middle of the month or whatever, in the middle of the season, whatever you want to do. That's all fine, but then people can finish it the rest of the season. Site activities, there is no time lock on that, so you can do all the speed traps and the pictures immediately in the first month. So that you can still finish. They do not add any others in month 2 or 3, so that's fine. Challenges. That's a problem. There are 30 challenges. You could do 10 on the month 1. You can do another 10 on month 2. But can you really? In this case, you need to win the event, the Japanese Falcon, in less than 4 minutes. Which is an event in the playlist with a lone vehicle, normally, the first time you play it. The second time you go back, you can pretty much do it with whatever you want. In this case, they're telling us it must be done with the Toyota, which means you have to go into custom mode to do this event, so that we can do this challenge. The problem with that is, seeing we have a time lock on the events, the custom mode is not unlocked, because the custom mode only unlocks whenever all of the events are done. So again, in September you can finish all the events, custom mode will unlock, and then we can do the challenges. So why unlock 10 challenges and some of these involving some of these events that we need to do with custom mode, and we don't have the custom mode available? Why, Ivory Tower? Why is that a thing? give us some challenges that we can complete, or do something else with it, but it should not give us challenges that we cannot even complete. Hey, we have unlocked 10 challenges for you, yeah, but you can only do 4 because the rest you need to do through custom mode, which is still locked. And as it says, you had to complete all the events to unlock the custom mode. This is one of their bright ideas there. I don't know where it comes from, but please, Irish Hour, get rid of it for the next seasons. No time lock on any of this business. You're taking away people's freedom of whatever they want to play and what they want to play. That is never a good thing. If you take freedom away from people within the game structure, that's never a good thing. Which brings us to the next thing. Then they added some special event from time to time, which is like a long race. In this case, they added, I don't even know where it is, but was that another playlist on itself that they actually called that thing? Now I'm even doubting if that was a thing. I don't even know where it went, but you had to, there was some sort of event. Oh yeah, it is this one. Huh? Yeah. It's just like the Hawaii Grand Tour. So that's like some sort of, that's like the second playlist they give you, but it's not really a playlist, it's just a 1 hour race. Again, you're not driving your own car. You're driving some loaned vehicle with green parts or whatever. Or not even, I think it was even stock. And here they force you to do this thing 2 times. Because the first time you drive it, you need to beat 58 minutes. They give you a stock car with no parts, you can't beat it. Nobody beat it in under 58 minutes. So you have to do it, then when the race is over, you actually win that car, in this case the Ferrari 250 GTO. Is that thing free? No, because you had to pay 2 million to participate in this event. So you basically pay 2 million for that car, but you have to do a 1 hour race before you actually get the car that you paid for. It's one of their new features that they're testing out. That's all fine, but if I buy a 2 million car, then I want to put my parts on it and drive that thing immediately. Under 58 minutes. Now we had to do that thing in a stock car. It was a boring race. It took us an hour and something, an hour and 2, an hour and 3 if you knew the routes. If you were messing up a little bit, could take you an hour and 20 as well. And then if you also wanted the title, then you had to do it again to get under 58 minutes. Because then after the first time you will get your car and you can put actually parts on it, and then you will get easily under 58 minutes with parts. And it's a road trip over both of the islands. Now of course if they add more islands later on, there might be another one of these coming, which will then be 2 hours or something to drive over the 3 islands, who knows. Obviously you see it is 50 minutes, people like, oh yeah, it's 50 minutes, you just said 20 minutes, yeah. It's 10 minutes around the island and 15 minutes around the other islands. That's 25 minutes easily. You can do it way faster if you have parts on your car. But the way this route is going is they're going through towns and through back alleys and left and right and left and right, and that's how they fill up the time. Because if you would just drive around both of the islands, you could probably do it in 20 minutes. But they made us zigzag through back alleys and whatnot in every of these little towns to slow us down and to make the trip longer, basically. And then there was a whole hype video in the beginning of the season about the stories, but the stories did not show up until August 5th, which was the second month of the season. And then you do some, you can win the Porsche 356, and you do some road trip to different houses. You start on the garage here from Kai's Garage, that's the name of the story. You start here and then you have to drive to pick up some parts up north, and then you to the harbor, you need to pick up some more parts. So you're picking up parts and putting step by step your car together and to eventually end back on this garage, and then you can win the car. You pick up that car and you get some money and you check the car and it has mileage on it. Because we already drove in that car. There is not even a new car in these stories. With all the brand licensing they have going, I'm pretty sure they could make a car, a new car. And if it's not a new car, then it could at least give us some special edition like they do in the Summit or something. No, it's just a stock Porsche 356 which you could just buy in the garage. It is some of these cars that they never brought back from the Crew 2, I think. I don't know. And now by finishing this story, we unlocked it. And then they transfers here, and then you get your old car which already had mileage on it. I don't know. This is the new feature of the season. The stories. Sort of also coming back from the Crew 2, of course. Very questionable that you have to do 8-step stories, drive around for half an hour or 3/4 of an hour, and then come to the conclusion that you win a vehicle which you already have in your garage. I mean, really? Couldn't wrap a livery around it and make it a different edition or something, Ivory Tower? Are we really getting that lazy? They're giving up on this game, step by step. That's what it feels like. We know that since 2025, they're already working on the next one. So somewhere in 2028, probably it will come out. Usually 3-year development, and then you start getting some news about the new game. So somewhere in 2028, I expect the new Crew. Whether it will be a Motorfest 2 or the Crew 4 or whatever the name will be. Because they went from a big island, USA, to the small Hawaii Islands here, that they changed the name. That's why they didn't call it the Crew 3, but they changed the name because of... They couldn't call this Crew 3 if you come from a 2,000 square mile map from the Crew 1 and the Crew 2. You cannot call this the Crew 3 at these two small islands. So they call it a different name. That's why it's not called the Crew 3. But the next one could be Motorfest 2 or who knows. Which brings us to the next thing in the list of things to do in this game. And that is, of course, the Summit. Every week, the first week, you can win some new vanity or something. These are the rewards. 100,000 XP, nobody cares. People have millions of XP in that game. Tickets, you can win prestige tickets in the shop. You can buy Summit cars that you might have missed. You can buy them a few months later. They show up in the prestige ticket shop, and then you need prestige tickets. But you can earn those things in the game by doing custom mode. So 100 tickets here will not change much. Lancia Stratos, not even that expensive. You can just buy it in the game, in the shop. So. And then the taxi room underglow. Some cartoonish underglow. The first time we are getting acquainted here with the cartoonish. A lot of cartoonish things happening. Week number 2. This is all old stuff. This is old stuff from the Crew 2, which are step by step dropping into the game, so that new players can also get it, but there's nothing new in this. That Alfa Romeo you can just buy in the shop, and the tire is something that comes from the Crew 2. And then this time they have some sort of team. Again, some tickets. And then you have an epic title. Nobody drives around with an epic title because we have legend titles now. The highest edition of titles. So if somebody has a title on it, that's usually gold or red for the legend ones. And then you have the Rayman toy. I don't know what this is about. It's cartoons again, probably. I don't even know what Rayman is. So that's probably some modern cartoon thing, of which I am way too old for. We have to do this in a loaned vehicle. Loaned vehicle. Loaned vehicle. Loaned vehicle. Loaned vehicle. Loaned vehicle. We have 800 cars in our garage. We cannot use our own vehicles. Why can't we use this car? Because we can't get the car. It is only available in the shop for 70,000 crew credits, which is $7. They started it a few weeks ago with this car here. The W Motorsport Spanier Special Edition. You cannot get this special edition with the neon underglow and whatnot, unless you pay 219,000 crew credits, which is $22. This is their new strategy, trying to milk the cow. They're putting in some cars which are now going to cost money, only available with crew credits. You can buy crew credits somewhere in the shop, 10,000 crew credits is $10 or something. Oh, it's a dollar. I mean, yeah, there we go. $10 package is 100,000 crew credits. $5 package, you get screwed over. You don't even get 50,000. You get only 4.5. You get a bit of bonus on the $20 package. So instead of 200,000 crew credits, you get 22. So that's actually $22 worth. So you can buy a $20 package here, and then you can buy that $22 car, and your crew credits are gone. And then here you get some bonus, because $30 is normally 300,000 and $50 is normally 500,000. So you get some bonuses for these packages. But this, we felt it. We knew this was a testing to see if the community would fall for it. Some people did fall for it and actually bought a car. Some others made some videos about it. This is going the wrong way. So my feeling is this was a bit too expensive. So they're doing a new test, and they now show up with $7 cars instead of $20 cars, and see if people will fall for this shit so that they can buy this. We paid $120 for the Ultimate Edition of the game. Ultimate Edition of the game. That included the Year 1 pass. Year 2 showed up. And apparently the Ultimate Edition was not so ultimate, because we had to pay $30 again to get the Year 2 pass. Year 3, the same thing happened. We had to buy a Year 3 pass, which they announced for like, you will get some cars and blah blah blah, but they didn't even tell us what was in there. We bought that thing in November last year. We bought a Year 3 pass. We did not know what it was in it till eventually we approached May, when the radio control cars came out, and then it turned out that also that playlist was in the Year 3 pass. Officially that was never confirmed until a week before that thing came out. Then they told us like, oh, next week it's remote control cars, or the radio control cars. They will come out in a playlist. If you want to play that playlist, it's gonna be $10. But if you have the Year 3 pass, then you don't need to pay it, because then it is included. That was the first time that they officially mentioned it. We had to buy the pass 6 months ago. At that time, right? We bought the pass in November, and in May they told us that the playlist was actually in the Year pass. So let's hope they learned their lesson for the Year 4 pass, which you can already see is going to come. Another $30, more than likely, in October. You pay for Year 4 content. Let's hope they tell us this time what is actually in it. If there is a playlist involved, then tell us in the beginning of the season before we buy the pass, and not when you're 6 months into it. So what some people did, including myself, is we just waited. We just waited to see what happened with that playlist. And then when it was there were all kind of codes going on, and you could actually buy the Year 3 pass for $30 with a huge discount, which came down to $12. So you could buy the Year 2 pass for $12, which was a playlist with all the cars next to it as well for the Year pass. So that was way more interesting than just buying that playlist for $10. So we bought the Year 3 pass for $12 this season. Next season we will see. If they come up with some bullshit again, like $30, and don't tell us what's in it, we probably wait again. At least that's how I'm going with these things. And then we'll see what is actually in it when they announce it a week in advance. But this is testing. This is Ubisoft greediness testing. Seeing how much crap they can put in here for dollars in the last year or two for development of this game, probably. They started with a $22 car. Community rumbled and tumbled a little bit. So it was probably too much. So now they're testing to see if the community is willing to pay $7 for a car. When the NASCAR came, oh, the NASCAR, don't worry, no, NASCAR season is free. NASCAR season is free. That's what they said when they announced these things. Are we really sure about that? Oh, look at this, all these NASCARs here with that livery. Oh, look at that, we can buy all the liveries for 168,000 crew credits. That's $17. We bought a $120 Ultimate Edition, which turns out not to be so ultimate, because we need to buy an extra $30 for the Year 2 pass. an extra 30 bucks for the year 3 pass. Probably another 30 bucks for the year 4 pass. If you want to have all these NASCARs here, liveries, they are liveries, but they wrap them around the car, so it's actually 12 cars, but they're the same car as a stock car that you can buy, but then with the official liveries. If you want those, that's an extra $17. Now they're showing up with these $22 cars. If you want to get your collection complete, that's an extra $22. An extra $7 this week. Who knows what else they have planned? They're only gonna put every 2 weeks another 70,000 crew credits car in there. The problem, of course, is you do not get rewarded for playing the game. Right? There are some crew credits here and there, but that's not that much. There are in every of these playlists is 3,000 or 4,000 crew credits. Let me have a look. In the latest one, 4,000. In the latest one, it was 4,000. So you can collect 4,000 crew credits in a season. We're season 10, and that is this time it's 4,000, but sometimes it's 3,000. So let's say it's 70,000 every 2 seasons. Every 2 playlists it was sorta, but now we only do 1 playlist. So now it's 4,000 per season. In the previous ones it was 7,000 per season. So we had 9 seasons on 7,000. That's 63,000, and 4 is 67,000 crew credits. $6 they gave us over 3 years, 10 seasons. They gave us potentially that you could earn by playing the game. You could earn $6.70. They're now trying to sell us cars for $22. And there's no other way to earn crew credits within the game structure. That's a bit greedy, eh? For a race game with only 2 small islands and nothing much more to do. The summit this week, as you saw earlier, the summit used to be, when it came out in the Crew 1, it used to be a weekly competition between players, where you participated in 6 events in time attacks going from point A to point B, and you do it in as fast time as possible. In the Crew 1 you had solo events, you had crew events. In the Crew 2 they opened it up like, no, everybody needs to be able to play it, but they don't split up the groups and the solos. So if you drive it solo, you're already screwed to begin with. That is the point we are now. Because there are people, you have an overpowered slipstream system, which we have been saying from the beginning in the Motorfest that is too powerful. In the Crew 1 it was too powerful. The community communicated with the devs. We talked back and forth the whole time. They reduced that system drastically for the Crew 2 because they knew that was a thing. In the Crew 1 we had a reset button. People were abusing that in time attacks. Again, communication between the devs and the community back and forth, so that in the Crew 2 they decided we're not going to put a reset button in there because we know that people are abusing it in structures like the summit and so. So they put in a back on track, and if you press the reset button in the Crew 2, it puts you in front of the checkpoint at 0 kilometers an hour. As it should be. In Motorfest, I think what happened is that the Crew 2 dev group and the Crew Motorfest dev group are completely different dev groups which do not communicate with each other. So we are now approaching in Motorfest that overpowered slipstream is back, the reset buttons are back, and guess what? They are abused again in every possible way that they can be abused. And then they came up with these loaned vehicles here where you start up an event, loaned vehicle selected. So they give you a vehicle, you select your vehicle, you can't customize it, obviously, because it's a $7 car, with special livery, which you can only get by paying the $7, so you can obviously not customize this vehicle and trying to get that livery replicated or whatever. The upgrades are locked. So you cannot put any parts on it because what they call fair PvP loaned. they give you a set of maxed out green parts with no performance bonuses whatsoever. Okay, that's all fine. I can live with the fact that we have to drive a certain car. I can live with the fact that we cannot put our own livery on it, fine. I can live with the fact that they give us all the same sets of parts. I'm okay with that. What I cannot live with is this bullshit, where they lock your pro settings. The car doesn't steer, it most of the time understeers, it bounces around because of the suspension is too soft and the anti-roll bars are too soft. It usually doesn't brake very well because the brake balance is wrong. You can lock whatever you want, but do not lock the pro settings, Ivory Tower. We have told you many times this is ridiculous. People playing on a wheel, or on a controller, or on a keyboard, or on a joystick, they have different settings over here. It is not the same steering. It is not the same braking thing, and so on. And if you really have to block it, then at least follow the community. Every other people in here has anti-roll bars on 1010 and then maybe adjusted a little bit depending on if there is oversteer or understeer. Camber, every guy has racing cars on -25, -25. The only time you mess a little bit with the camber might be on a drift car or something, but for the normal cars it's -25. Then at least make that the default. Anti-roll bars 1010, camber -25, -25. They always say that they listen to the community, but they are not. They are totally not. Otherwise, the default would not be bar in the middle. I can give you an example. You can see. Yeah, I cannot show you with this car, of course, because this is a car that we don't have, unless we pay $7 for a stupid remote control car. But we can maybe take another one of these phasers. Here we are. So yeah, I think it's sort of the car that we are driving now. I think is some this thing that we are driving in that summit, but then a convertible version of it. But yeah, it starts with the power lever already, a bit more power to the front. So we put that slider a bit more to the front. You can see where the black dot is. That's where it used to be, right? Same here with the rear balance. We adjusted it a little bit because this car did not brake too good, so we changed it a little bit, right? Now we have the suspension. You see all the white dots here in the middle. We have it made it stiffened it up a little bit. Also, the springs itself stiffened up a little bit. But you can see the white dots. The white dots is what you get in the loan vehicles in the Summit. Same here. 0, 0. No, we are 10-10. In this case, understeered a bit or oversteered a bit, so we adjusted a bit to A10 now. And then the camber here in the middle normally, all the way to the left we put it, but the devs put it in the middle. That is what we have to deal with every week again in these loaned vehicles. In the beginning, when they brought it out, that was at once in a month. There is a car to win in the Summit. Like for instance, next week there is a car to win, and that's why when they started, right? So next week we can win the Lamborghini Temerario Alleggerita package. So this is some sort of yeah, that's like the Hurricane Performante basically, but then now we have the Temerario Alleggerita. So some sort of faster version of the normal Temerario. Then, if they give us that car, and they loan us that car, that makes sense. Because once we do the Summit on Wednesday, that car is not in the game yet. You have to play through the whole Summit through that week, and then if you score enough points to get in Platinum, you can win the car at the next week. So if they loaned us that vehicle, that makes sense because it was not in the game yet. That's how it started, if that's one event. But then they started doing it for more and more events, and now we can't barely use our own vehicles. We're driving around with green parts the whole time. There are 16 disciplines meanwhile in the game, I think, if not 17. You have to drive around with these opening performance boxes and whatnot 2-3 hours with every discipline to get all the yellow sets complete. We can't use them anymore because now they just give us a set of green parts. So what has been all of these hours and hours that we have been grinding for the yellow parts? What was the point of that? Because you also not use it in Grand Race. So yeah, that thing is also completely reduced, this whole summit, to one big cheese fest. And people just show up, they look at the beginning of the month and they say, okay, this month, they write down that date, and then they will show up whenever there is a car to win. Because they fooled a few people at some point. It used to be always on the last week, that is no longer the case. You have to come in at the beginning of the month and see where is the car. Because it could be in week 2, it could be in week 3, they're playing around with it. This time it is more or less normal in the last week of the month. But last season I think it was in week 3. It also has been in week 2 already at some point. So you need to come and check it because otherwise you miss the car. If you don't. If you just think like, oh, it's the last week of the month and you show up and then the car was in week 2 or 3, then you missed it. Then you have to wait 2 seasons, which is 6 months, before it shows up in the prestige ticket shop, and then you can buy it there with prestige tickets. That's sort of where the summit cars go in case you don't win it. Then you have to go prestige ticket shop. Now, how do you win the summit? By being fast? Nah, not really. You win the summit by playing on a controller with wheel mode on, macro shifting, and graphics on low. And make sure that your reset button is bound. That's how you win summits nowadays. Complete, instead of the weekly competition what it's supposed to be, it has turned into a weekly gathering cheese fest. The more you can cheese, the better you will do. In some cases even the more you can cheat, the better you will do, because speed traps, some people are using lag switch, that's cheat. So completely ruined over time. This week, complete kindergarten. That's why you will see no score here from me. This will be the first summit ever where I will not reach platinum. I refuse to participate in a kindergarten. This was a competitive format. It is now turned into a kindergarten. This week is kindergarten, that whole summit. I refuse to participate in that. We'll come back next week to do this thing. For the cars. Which brings us to the next thing. Demolition Royale. It's in the game. Have fun with it. That's all I can say about it. I had a friend who... if you go to the Ubisoft launcher, you have some of these achievements and also core challenges. And she was sort of filling up that list, trying to get everything done. She didn't do that yet. And a few of those things are like play 1 hour of this Demolition Royale and win a lobby of Demolition Royale and kill 15 players in Demolition Royale and pick up 50 bonuses or whatever, something like that. Some of those things are, some of them are related. We've been sitting there 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just trying to get a lobby so that she could get her achievements done. Eventually, after long waiting, we got a lobby and we didn't see anybody till the end. People are not driving there. They're probably also just doing it for the achievements or for the core challenges to get completed. They're just sitting somewhere in the forest in the gas or whatever. They're not even playing it. This might be like 1% of the community that plays it, and then it's usually a bunch of kids in the weekend. Sunday and Saturday you might find a lobby. During the week, good luck with it. Most of the time you will not find a lobby, unless it's late at night maybe. But it's in the game. If you want to play it, there is a small percentage or two of the community who might like it. I don't know. The rest just does not touch that shit. Which brings us to the Grand Race. Cool. Especially mid-season, keeps the game alive. It's the only thing to do. Beginning, there might be some new playlists or some new stories, beginning of a season, but mid-season, there's nothing else to do than doing some Grand Race. Big problems here, of course. In the beginning, it was pretty casual. We could do whatever, but you know, the more competitive persons within us, they sort of asked for like, hey, we need some sort of ranking, you know, make it worth a little bit, the racing. So they came up with ranked mode in season 8. What does ranked mode mean? That means that you drive the grand race and you play for a rank. With a simple point system, which is obviously officiated over here. Simple point system, a win is so many points, second place is so many points, and so on. Obviously that is being sarcastic, because this system that they have in place here is a joke. People are racing. Some people are racing for rank points. Some people are not even racing for rank points because they have frozen their rank. That's all thrown together in one lobby. There is no unranked lobby for casuals that don't want to play ranked. It is not available. The point system is completely guesswork. You get several hundred points if you drive in bronze rank. You get barely any points if you drive in platinum rank. That is the ivory tower system. Completely not transparent. There is no point system table anywhere in this menu. We don't know what we're getting. I have situations where I drove in platinum, where I finished on the podium. Sometimes you get +2, sometimes you get -2. On the podium, 28 people lobby, there are 25 people behind you, you get no points and you're on the podium. Then there is something wrong with the point system, the way I see it. What we should have here is a simple system here. Get this guy here with his shades, get him out of the thing here, remove that thing and put a simple point system here. First place, let's say 25 points, second place 22, third place 20, fourth place, so on. Going to 14th place, all positive points. From 15 to 28, you turn that table around and you make that negative. Meaning that last place is -25, pre-ultimate place is -22, and so on, right? The top 14 gains points, or the top 10 gains points, and then the middle, they stay where they are, and then the bottom 10, they lose points, or something like that. That's how it should be. It should also not matter what rank you are. If you win the race, it should be 25 points. A race win is a race win, and done with it. And then then you can make it 5,000 points or something, right? Now it is just ridiculous, right? We go into the bronze ranks. There are 4 subcategories. You need 50 points in each of these ranks. This season, I started the season. I finished in 4th and in 5th, and I was in silver. So a 4th and a 5th place in bronze is good enough to give you more than 200 points so that you jump into silver. Because in bronze, you need to earn 200 points to get through the toll. Then in silver, every sub rank is 100 points, so then you need to reach 400 points before you can go into gold. And then in gold, it's 300 points. So the gold, going through the gold ranks is 1200, and then no, it's 200, it's 800, and then platinum will be 300 points per rank, so that's 1200. So now in total, to get to legend, you need 2600 points. But the thing is, if you're on the podium here, you get a few hundred points. If you're on the podium here, you can barely get any points. That system is complete trash. That makes no sense. What they should do is they should make it simple. A win is 25 points, and let's say you need 4 wins to get to bronze 3. If you score, let's say, 3rd place, which is 20 points, then you need 5 of those to get to bronze 3. You need 100 points with a simple fixed point system. And of course, it will become tougher and tougher as the time goes, because with that system, if you're not in the top 10, then you're outside of the top 10, you might lose points and you go down again. But then you know, and then you also know what you're fighting for, right? If you're like, let's say 25, 22, 20, 18, 16, 5th place is then 16 points, then you know, like, okay, I'm fighting for 6 points, for 5th point place here, which is 16 points. And 7th might be 14, so, you know, which also means that you don't need to ram, or you're only driving, if you have like one guy next to you, then you're fighting for 2 points, right? So don't need to be too aggressive, it's only 2 points. But now you don't know. You don't know. Now people are just running each other out of the corners because they don't even know what they're going to get. So they try to get as high as possible and then hope that they don't lose points. It makes no sense. If you, let's say Formula 1, if you have Mr. Hamilton, 7 times world champion, or you have Mr. Lindblad, rookie, if they win the race, it doesn't matter who those two wins the race, they get 25 points. It should not matter if you are a bronze driver, a silver, a gold, a platinum, or a legend. A win is a win, you should get 25 points. So what happens now is that people grind through this thing for like 5-6 days, and then you have 2600 points, you reach legend, and people freeze the rank. And then they're done with all these rammers, and then they just race, drive whatever they want, don't care. So people are, it's not competitive at all, of course, because you don't need to defend your rank. You can just freeze your rank now, and then hey, go into a lobby where people are still driving in gold or platinum and still trying to get to legend, and they are still grinding for it. And then you have some trolls driving around, or even better, some of the people have frozen their rank on silver, and they will do it in the last 2-3 days of the season, because obviously at the end of the season there are way more legends. And if you then start as silver and you beat all those legend drivers, you probably get 300 points even in gold. So yeah, that whole point system that they have now, that is just stupid at best. The next thing, which is probably in this season, is that they have not changed any of the routes. Every season before they changed the routes. They gave us new tracks to drive on. It was every time it felt refreshing. This time it felt boring as hell. They just copied the season 9 tracks to season 10. There is not one single new track on the whole Grand Race for this season. And the season 9 tracks were already not that great, given most of them were highways. We're still on the same highway tracks this season. Next to that, there is that track which we have reported on season 8 already, which sort of goes through hairpins. But they forgot to put some checkpoints on the left side of the hairpins. So people just drive off-road on the grass straight up the hill. And the people that stay on the road lose 20 seconds on that very small section of a few hundred meters. Somebody who cuts and doesn't cut on that race, that's 20 seconds difference. That has been reported in season 8 throughout. So you would think like, okay, in season 9, you would expect that to be fixed. Maybe it was a bit short in time to fix it. Okay, so we're still dealing with the track on season 9. But now we're in season 10. They still have not fixed that track. So the checkpoints are still not there. It is in 3 different lobbies. One with hypercar, one with racing, and one with Formula 1. Those are 3 things where you're, at least in 2 of them, with the racing and the hypercars, and the Alpha GPs. You're driving on slicks, you have to cut over the grass, people are spinning out, it's one big chaos. Best place to be in there is first place, that you can choose your own lines, get through that grass as quickly as possible, you're 20 seconds ahead of everybody else. Those kind of things, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. To me, it feels more and more that they are keeping up. They're giving us playlists which we can't even finish because they are time locked. They say they have changed something on this, they have changed nothing on it. The only thing they did was season 8, they found it a bit too quick to get people. People were getting to legend in 4 or 5 days or even faster. So they slowed it down a little bit. So in season 9 it was like you had to play 8 or 9 days, I think, to get to legend. So they slowed it down a bit, but then they decided to, no, we're going to make the seasons shorter for season 10. So they changed it again in season 10, and now it is easier to get to legend again. That's the only thing that they changed on that whole system. But the problem is, dear Ivory Tower, that your point system doesn't work to begin with. So when you make it more points or longer grind, that's what it was. They changed something on the structure, which means you could even get less points, especially in the higher ranks, unless you were on the podium. And they're sort of messing around with that, but that's like... The base point system to begin with sucks balls. A win is a win. That should not matter if you're bronze or platinum. You should not get 200 points for a victory in bronze and only 5 points in a victory for platinum. That should not be a thing. That should be 25 points over all the board. And then I think we did a calculation on that once. If, let's say it was 25 points, then you would need 5,000 points to get to legend. Something in that order, right? Because that's how the system would work then. That like, let's say 25 points, and they let you win like 10 races or something before you switch over. Per category, that is. Or 5, right? We can do, yeah, we can do 5, eh? Let's say you start in bronze and you do 5 victories would give you, so that's 125, 250, 375, then the bronze would be 500. So 5 victories in bronze, you need 10 victories per category in silver, and then 15 in gold and 20 in platinum or something. I think then you come down to about 5,000 points that you need then. And then once you reach legends, what they could do then is make a ranking based on the last 50 races that you did, which gives you a win ratio ranking. And that also means that you need to perform every time you show up, because otherwise you're going to drop in that ranking. You might do well in 5 races in the beginning, but after 45 races later, you're going to have to sort of defend those 5 big races that you did in the beginning by performing the same, or you will lose your points. And then people can go up and down in that ranking, and they have to perform every race. But that, of course, then you need to also make it possible that you can perform in every race, and not with some random rammers which are around. That should be a thing. If somebody hits a wall, they should always be in ghost mode. If somebody flies into the forest and they reset, they should always be in ghost mode for at least 10-15 seconds till they are back up to speed. That is not the case now. People are just standing in the middle of the road after a reset and everybody smashes into them. It's one big chaos. That is the Chaos Fergus strategy. He loves that shit. He loves chaos in these racing games. But that's also why he has the Air Nitro default, and why we have ramps in the Crew 2 in the middle of the city on top of the roofs, because he likes that kind of shenanigans. That's all fine, but that is casual as fuck, Mr. Fergus, and if you want that, then you need to make a lobby for those people who want to do some stupid stuff, and that's called unranked lobby. And the other lobby, you make ranked, and in ranked you come up with penalty systems. If people push you into the forest, they should be losing points or slowing down or something like that. And if you can't make that happen, then you need to make it ghost mode. Then you make every lobby with no collisions. Makes no sense that you have a jet lobby in your grand race and the collisions are on, and there is like half of that lobby cannot fly a jet, they fly into you, your race is over with that jet. Because the collisions are on in jet. They come up with, don't know if there is any available at the moment, but there are several lobbies which involve drifting. The collisions are on. People have drift settings on their car, they go sideways through the corner, cool, nice, bit of toggy run or whatever on the mountain. That's very cool, but then the guy behind you, he doesn't have drift settings on his cars because he wants to go straight. He just smashes you in the side of the door and you spin out, and there we are. We are grand racing with drift cars. That's all fine, but things like the jet, the drift, the motocross. Although it's a small bike, you can't drive side by side because they have the hitbox of a Mini Cooper. Half the community doesn't even know that. They're driving so close to you and then they're surprised that they, as well as you, cannot steer because you're driving too close and nobody can steer. People are steering on these jumps on the ramps, they're steering, they're still doing it. If you steer on a ramp, you hit each other somebody will die, most likely both of you will die. Don't do it, just don't do it. So everything, there are a bunch of new players around every season, because that's what they're focusing on. There are all kind of promotions, they're making the game almost free in some certain summer deals or whatever. Or Black Friday deals or holidays, Christmas deals or whatever. So there are always a bunch of new players every season. They don't know the tracks, just make it no collision. We are now at that point, just make it no collision, because season after season it was more ramming. This season has been by far the worst driving that I've seen in the Grand Race lobbies. By far. You get frustrated with it. You just want to have a race. You want to have a decent race with some decent racers up front. You get pushed back, forward and center. If you have certain tracks, if you have a wrong starting position, your race is over before it even started. Because of an overpowered slipstream system, a broken draft bump system. This season the draft bump is completely broken. And my opinion about that is that they changed something on the slipstream system whenever they brought in the NASCARs. And that has effect in the Grand Race. More than likely that was not intended, but it has effect on that draft bump slipstream system in the Grand Race as well. The slipstream you can sort of still coordinate because you see the car in front of you, you're driving behind, you get slipstreamed. You can still drive next to him a little bit so that you're not too much in the slipstream. So that you can, approaching a corner, that you can sort of, you can see what you're doing. The draw bump from the people that are behind you, there's nothing you can do about it. They are driving behind you, you can't control the draw bump. You approach a corner, there are 2 cars behind you. System takes over, you have no more steering. The draw bump is completely broken this season. There is no word on any of these changes of the devs. They know this. There's no marketing guy that needs to show up and tell us that, no, this is the first time. That is bullshit. Don't fool the community. If you hear any of these marketing guys lately or community managers, just... Which brings us to the next point. Who the hell is the community manager of Motorfest? Does anybody know? Another point of how the community has evolved over time. In the Crew 1, everybody knew UB Gethale. Everybody knew James. That was our community manager. Was a guy who was involved all over the place. He was on Discord. He was on forums back in the day. He was checking Twitch channels. He was checking YouTube channels. That's how people got invited to playlists and workshops and whatnot. They were following things, right? We are now in 2026. Crew Motorfest, I'm assuming, has a community manager, and he or she will be around, I'm assuming. Do we have any name of that people? Have they introduced themselves on the website or on the Discord or whatever? I don't know. I have no idea. I have 10,000 hours in the franchise. I have no idea who the community manager is of the Crew Motorfest. In the Crew 1, we were talking to these people on the forums. We were talking to these people from time to time, send them a message. Obviously not spamming messages, but if really something important was up, you could send him a message. Give it a few days before he answered. Of course, he was getting hundreds of messages. But there was communication going, we had direct lines with the community manager, and then the community manager would fast forward it to the team. And then in that way, you had like a whole circle going with communication. Then you also saw some things that went around from the community coming into the game at a certain point, because, there was always communication between the community and the devs, and then the community manager and his team were sort of in the middle, and then was communication going back and forth. Then at a certain moment we had the workshop before the Crew 2, where they decided even to create the Pit Crew, which was some sort of feedback group. It started with the 8 people from that workshop, which I'm very well aware because I was one of those 8. And then it got expanded with more content creators, where each of us, I think, could point out some content creators or whatever, I don't know. Eventually that ended up with a group of 30, 40, 50 people. That was the Pit Crew in the first 2 years of the Crew 2. And then they decided like, no, we're going to do this and this. And then suddenly the communication stopped again. They disbanded the group, the Pit Crew, and then they were going to go to a more wider group, which was then the, what's it called now? Yeah, now it's one big group of 1,000 or 5,000 people, which they are constantly inviting to these technical tests and whatnot, right? So the group has expanded, but there is no direct communication anymore in such a way that I think there used to be a TTS Discord. I don't know if that's still a thing, but if you got invited, then you could go to there, and then things were discussed over there on that Discord, under NDA, of course, or whatever was discussed there. You couldn't share and things like that. But that's, of course, with all the social media around nowadays, there is no such thing as NDA. The people who are involved in the TTS, they still need to sign one, but there is no such thing. You have the rumors of the whole way within Twitter and Discord and Reddit and whatever, and people communicating with each other. And if you have a group of 10 people, there's probably 1 or 2 of the friends who is involved in TTS, and the whole 10 people know what is going on, and that's what's going on nowadays. They try to do secretly things and whatever. Everybody knows there are new islands coming. Everybody knows by now. And they still have to officially announce it in the showcase in September. But we are now barely August, and everybody knows already. And then they have to sign an NDA. Yeah, you can't say you're playing TTS. You boot up the Ubisoft launcher, and then you see like at some point it even say like, hey, this or this person is playing the Crew TTS. So all of the friends could see that somebody who was involved in the TTS was playing TTS. Now I think it just says it's playing a Crew game. So they removed the TTS from, but still everybody knows what that means. If you see somebody playing a Crew game or a Ubisoft game or whatever it says, then they're in the TTS. It's like, and then it takes you like a day or 2, 3, and then the first leak starts showing up. And that's how people know exactly what's going on, of course. People know that the Kauai Island will be next up top, and some smaller islands come along, probably for the track force, those smaller islands, but... So we're gonna get a 3rd island for year 4. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But that's where we are now. We have a Demolition Royale, which nobody ever played to begin with, give or take maybe 1% of the community. And even that is not a thing anymore, I think. The custom show also didn't take too long before that became a cheese fest, where people know exactly when their car is showing. So they're like Discord groups are making a sport of that. Showing up at a certain time, and they know that at that time their friends' cars will be showing, and they vote on each other's car, and then you have the top 10 is on that platform there. It's always the same people, or from the same groups, because there are different of these Discord groups, but sometimes they even make it in such a way that they make the same livery, and then you see the top 10 all with a green livery or something on. It's the same group of cheesers. The main stage full of script users, which they never done anything about it, so the script users are still winning every XP month. They're not even playing, they're just script using, running 24/7. And by the end of the month they have 5,000 levels or whatever. They didn't touch the game. Just running somewhere in the background with a script. Summit, yeah. The weekly cheese fest I call it, and this week it was just kindergarten. This week was just like, that was one step too much for me. Right? I don't do the reset bullshit. I'm not involved in doing 100 jumps on the speed trap, trying to get 1 or 2 good results. No, I just drive. Speed trap, I just drive. Maximum speed of the car, of a racing car is 430, fine. Then my score on the summit will be 430. But people are jumping over mountains, and then because of the broken air nitro, you get 100 kilometers an hour more in speed trap. That's the air nitro boys. And then the lag switchers come in, and they just press a button, a lag switch. They're doing 720, no matter what discipline of car. Yeah. Speed traps are completely broken. The devs know that and still put them in the summit. So that means they're stopped caring for the summit. The Grand Race, they brought in the rank mode. They would say they keep an eye on it and listen to the community. They have not changed anything on it. The casuals and the competitives are still in one lobby. People can freeze rank, can ram you out without any consequences. Frozen rank should never be a thing. People want to play unranked, and ranked should never be in the same lobby. That should always be 2 different lobbies. The point system should be a normal fixed point system with transparency. You can see the point table in the menu before you start the race, so you know what you're driving for. And not some sort of calculation where, depending on where you started on the racing grid, and then you get more points if you start in 28 than when you get in first place. And then it depends, if you're bronze you get 200 points for a victory, if you're platinum you get 5 points if you're lucky. All that thing needs to go. That needs to be a proper system. Once you reach legend, there needs to be a proper leaderboard with a win ratio, which only calculates your last 10 races or your last 50 races and nothing else. In other words, you have to show up and perform every time, or you will drop in the rankings. Something like that. That would be a proper competitive format. But I'm very well aware that not everybody will like that, which means they need to be on the side. There needs to be an unranked lobby where people can just go fool around a bit. And then you have the competitive, the real competitive racing in ranked, and you have the ones who just want to fool around. They are in unranked. That's what they should do with Grand Race, and then it would work. But now it's a mess. It is. Now we're at that point where you say like, okay, why are we even booting up this game? You boot up the game on Wednesday just to check like, is it any decent summit? And this week it was just over the top. This week was like, yeah. Probably appreciated by 5 to 10 year olds, but the majority of the community are way older. Some of us are in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s even, because we're going way back, you know, starting 2014 with the Crew one. And even then, at that time, we were already in our 20s or 30s, right? So we're meanwhile 12 years later. I was in my late 30s when it started all. Now I'm in my early 50s, so... And then you see this crap here, this kindergarten car here with kindergarten tracks where you have to jump and hit some coins or whatever. It's not even about driving the fastest from A to B. You get some tracks with some parkour bullshit and jumping, and the first track has checkpoints, but checkpoints don't even matter. You just can turn around, and as long as you hit the coins, you need to hit for 35 coins and finish in the first event. That's nothing to do with racing. It's just like pure random and randomness of the car itself as well, because does it turn, does it not turn, we don't know. The pro settings are locked. Does it jump, doesn't it jump too high? Didn't we give it too much nitro boost jump power, or otherwise it jumps too high and jumps over the coins, and then you're losing 5 seconds. And yeah, like the first event you can do in 40 seconds, but if you just drive around and hit all the coins, you can also do it in 2 minutes and 20. The difference is 2 minutes and 20 you get 15,000 points. With a time of 40 seconds, you get 150,000 points. Nothing to do with racing. And here it is. We are week 3 or something of the music maker is on top again. Script user number 1 with 1700 levels. How are these people still in here? They're fucking using scripts. It's against the terms of service. Why are these people not banned yet? They don't care. They just don't care anymore. The focus is on the next game, is my feeling. But meanwhile, they're still charging us $22 for the car, and now maybe that was a bit too much. So now they're testing to see if people are willing to pay $7 for a car. And then the new season will be announced very soon, or the new year, and then they probably need another $30 from us for the final year pass, more than likely. Maybe there might be a year 5 pass as well. Maybe it's another 2 years before the new game is out, but the focus is on the new game already, I think. That's my feeling. There's a bunch of cheese fests going on with the speed traps in the summit and all that kind of shenanigans. You have the script users in the main stage. You have Grand Race, which they would follow up on to make it a proper rank system. The ranked people moved on already. We have some casual rammers in the Grand Race now. It's like a few days of frustration in the beginning of the season to bite through that sour apple to get to your legend rank. Once you have legend, you freeze it and do whatever you want. And I show up from time to time now to do the summit. What I'm now doing is I show up, I set some scores on it. 130,000 points for a time attack or more, you're good. 150,000 points for skill test, you're good. Don't worry about it, you will have platinum at the end of the week. Platinum guaranteed, you will be in the top 15,000. Try to get 130,000 in a time attack, 155,000 plus in skill test. Platinum guaranteed. Don't worry about anything else. Whether you're first, second, 10,000 or 14,999, it's all the same. So don't frustrate yourself over that summit anymore. Just show up, set some scores, move on. And you will have the rewards and the prizes every week. Grand Race. Try to figure out when you can play, and because there is a huge difference playing early afternoon or sort of in the prime time or after prime time. Huge difference. You can have some decent racers late at night Sometimes also early afternoon, but whatever you do, do not show up between 4 or 5 p.m. European time and 8, 9 p.m. because you're gonna get rammed back, forth and center, especially now in the summer months. School is not on yet, bunch of kids in there. 1-2 hours in, you're completely frustrated while you, while you play games, to have some fun, to relax, whatever. Not to get frustrated. You start up with a, oh, cool, let's play some games, let's have some fun. And you get frustrated after 2 hours, you come out of that game. That can't be the idea. Average hour needs to wake up, shake the tree a little bit, get all these script users and macro users and all that shit, get them out of here, adjust that grand race properly, make a ranked and a unranked lobby, so that the casuals can play in the unranked lobby and that the proper racing drivers can drive in the ranked lobby. Make a proper point system with a win ratio leaderboard, so that the last, let's say 25 or 50 races, only races that count, which means they need to perform every race again to be up top in that leaderboard. No such business as freeze your rank, get rid of that. Reduce the slipstream and get rid of the drop bump, because the drop bump is broken at the moment. And then even then, if you do that, then you can even leave the collisions on. Because if you have the proper races in there, they don't drive like an idiot. They actually slow down for corners. That is also one of the major problems in that game. Nobody slows down for corners, which creates chaos, especially in the first 33%. Creates chaos in every corner. For no reason. That needs to go. At the moment, this game is in a pretty bad state when it comes to that. There is all kind of other things happening. You have playlists, you have stories, you have longer stories, special events. If you missed one of the main stage cars, you can still get them back. Main stage year 1, year 2. I think they recently added another one. Yep, I already did it. I think last week they added another one for... So these are the main stage cars in case you can't play that month and you can't reach level 10 in the yellow bar. You can still get these cars. They will come back every 3 months in the main stage legacy. If you miss a summit car, don't worry about it. You go to the shop. Go to Prestige Ticket Shop. These things are 2 seasons behind. So whenever in October season 11 starts, then season 9 cars will show up here. You can buy them with Prestige Ticket Shop. Prestige tickets you can win in this custom mode, so you can always get these cars. So whatever you do, don't get frustrated about the summit. If you miss one of the platinum cars, okay, just wait 2 seasons and then you can just buy it with tickets. You will still be able to get it. That's all fine, right? Main stage cars, you missed them, you can still get them in the main stage legacy boxes in your menu. Summit cars, if you missed them, 2 seasons later you can get them in the Prestige Ticket Shop. That's all fine. This thing is not fine. You should not charge people $22 for a car if they already paid $120 for the game, plus an extra $30 every year for a year pass. Then you cannot come up with vanity cars which are $22. That is just being greedy, Ubisoft. Get rid of that shit. That is something you can do if you work with a battle pass system where your game is free, but that's not the case here. The ultimate edition of the game is $120. With yearly passes of $30 on top of it, then you cannot charge $22 for a car and $7 for a car and a package of liveries for 170,000 crew credits or $17. You cannot do that. So again, gonna frustrate people. Some people want to get their collection complete. They're gonna get frustrated with this kind of shit because, you know, that's all fine. If you're a big content creator, what's $22 if you make a few $100s a month from making content or whatever? Doesn't matter, you know. It's investment return, whatever shit. But some average player who just wants to have his collection complete, he on this rate, he needs to spend $50 a month on this game. Sorry, but that's not worth it. You have 2 small islands. There's hardly any content, give or take a few playlists. This is not a game which is worth $50 a month. Then you're gonna end up, at the end, you're gonna end up with a bunch of streamers who are making money from this game by making videos and streaming. They might buy the $22 car, but the rest of the community will not. That's just milking the cow. This is the Forza has been doing it also. In Forza Horizon 5, every month they had a $10 and a $15 package. One month it was $10, one month it was $15. They've been doing that for the last year of Forza Horizon 5. That's milking the cow in the last 2 years of your. That's what's happening here. Last 2 years of Motorfest, they're gonna try to make as much money out of it as possible. They tested it with the $22 car. The community made a bit noise about it. Didn't like it very much. So now they're testing it if it would work with a cheaper car. So now they try a $7 car. If a lot of people buy that $7 car, they're gonna keep pushing $7 cars in that game. We knew it as soon as we saw that $22 car that it would be a dangerous precedent, and it's already proven, I think. This is the state of the Crew franchise at the moment. From a hardcore, not a hardcore, from a big map situation to now a game with a few small islands, from being communication lines going back and forth between the community manager and the devs, to a game where there is hardly any communication. You buy year passes, you only wait 1 week before the playlist comes out, you know that the playlist is in there. That kind of communication that needs to go. If people buy a $30 year pass, they need to know what's in it from the beginning, and you should not change that during the season. You should just announce it from the beginning what's in there, so that people know what's in there, what they're paying for. Now there were some rumors that the playlist was in it, so people gambled and bought it. And then when the playlist showed up a week before, they actually confirmed that it was in it. But before that, was officially never confirmed. There were all kind of leaks in media and whatnot, but Ubisoft or Ivory Tower has never officially confirmed that the playlist was in year 3 until the week before it came out. That shit needs to go. If you announce in September that there will be a year 4 pass, then people need to know what is in there for the whole year, and you do not take things out of there or add things during the year. That's just fooling the rest of the community. That's sort of my 1 hour rant, a bit longer even, 1 hour and a half, of what the situation is now. It's a fun game to play, it always was, but the whole franchise was fun to play. I prefer this system over where you grind for your parts and things like that. Trying to make money and you use your money to buy cars. I always prefer that than just getting things thrown at your head like Forza does with the wheel spins. That's just ridiculous. I played Forza 3, 4 and 5. I skipped 6 as soon as I saw it, because I'm like, nope, this is just a copy of Forza Horizon 5. This is a 2-3 month game maximum and people will move on. And I was not wrong, because it's exactly what is happening. Forza Horizon 6 is out for 2 months and the community is moving on. Players' field is going down and down and down every week. As expected. It's too much of a copycat of the previous game and no new content except for the weekly playlists. Yeah, that's the same. That's the same as here. Then people move on and then you have more kids coming in and then they start inviting those guys. And then you have, yeah, that's what you have for all the Forza boys. What is going on here? Why am I making a video like this? Because what is happening is like, you know, you're doing playlist stuff week after week and now they decided suddenly to go playground style. That's what this is. Huh? This is a weekly competition, or it should be, and they made it a playground event this week. Not one time, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and then a couple of skill tests. Kindergarten, and that's fine, you know. There are some 5 and 12-year-olds around, probably, maybe in something like that. Also in Forza, they love playing playgrounds. Good, but they keep it separated. Here they decided to mix it again, and that's where Fergus always goes wrong. He always wants to mix everything. That's why he comes up with these loan vehicles, huh? Because he knows that there are a bunch of new players who don't have yellow parts and whatever, but that's the whole point, right? That's why you spend 2-3 hours on a discipline to get all your yellow sets, so that you can participate properly on the summit and actually get into the platinum. Which means that, and more people getting those yellow sets, the more and more people the competition will become stronger. But now, like, yeah, no, but people don't want to grind for yellow parts because, you know, that's those Forza boys. They probably invited some Forza boys to one of these workshops where they get everything for free with a wheel spin, and they want to see that in this game as well, and that is what happens here. If you have loaned vehicles in 6 different events, yeah, then you don't need to use your own cars, then you don't need yellow parts because you get a car with green parts. But they also lock your settings, so you're gonna have to deal with the fact that the car doesn't brake and steer and turn and whatnot. That's your own fault. You asked for it. Whoever was in those workshops and in those playtests, you asked for it. This is the result. That's what Fergus is listening to playground people. Then we get summits like this. And it's the same in Grand Race. He wants the whole community to be involved in one lobby. So he comes up with this system where people can freeze their rank. So you have people grinding for their rank and actually driving for their points. And then you have people who just like, I don't care, I don't want to be here, I don't want to play for ranked. But yeah, I can't, you know, I can freeze my rank. I can't play in an unranked lobby, so let's go fool around a bit in the ranked lobby. And then everybody is together and it's one big chaos. That's where Fergus always goes wrong. He never understands it. He never has, in any of the crew games, has understood the competition aspect of a game. Never. Was a mess in the Crew 1, it was a mess in the Crew 2, and now in Motorfest it's even becoming a bigger mess over time. If the summit is supposed to be a weekly competition, then you need to make it in such a way that that thing is a solo thing. Where you have time attacks where people drive from A to B, no AI involved, get the stupid AI out of there, they don't need to be there, it just needs to be a time attack from A to B. No reset buttons, no rewinds, that should be disabled. None of that bullshit. You can tell people, hey, you need to use this specific car or this category, let's say you need to use a sports car, then people have still a bit of choice, they can use their own car, their own settings, go. And then you make 2 different leaderboards, the solos and the people that play in crew. That should be 2 different leaderboards. How is it that you have a summit with a weekly competition where you have a team of 4 slipstreaming each other and you're up against solo who's just have to do it all by himself with no slipstream? How is that a competition? There needs to be a fair battle, right? If you drive Formula 1, they're all driving in one car, right? But I understand the game is called the Crew, you want people to play in the Crew, that's fine, but then you need to make a leaderboard for the crews and a leaderboard for solo people. There are a lot of people playing the game solo as well. And then people can decide in the beginning of the week what they do. They play solo, or they play in crew, or they do both, and whatever their best rank is, that will count, and that's it. Or you need to make people let people make the choice in the beginning of the week. Am I doing this summit solo, or am I playing in crew? And if you choose solo, then you have to do the whole summit solo. If you choose crew, then you have to do the whole summit in crew, and then you go into the crew leaderboard. And then you have a competition between crews, and you have a competition between solo players. Makes sense? Everybody happy? Now it's just like, yeah, it's just a joke, now. And there's still something similar in Grand Race. Ranked lobby and unranked lobby. No freezing business. People should defend their rank. It should be based on your last 50 races or something, so that you have to keep performing it the whole season. Not by, hey, we make a leaderboard who has driven the most, yeah. Then you have people who have no life or no work, and they can drive 8 or 12 hours a day, they will be on top. Doesn't mean they're faster or the best drivers, that's gonna be a joke. That's sort of how the main stage system works now. That's why the script users are on top. Whoever earns the most XP in the month, that is in the top of the leaderboard. That's not competition, that's bullshit. Same in Grand Race. Whoever has the most time on their hands will be first to the legend. Whoever doesn't have that much time, might take a bit longer, but they will get to legend as well. But if you have a proper system where only the last 50 races count for your leaderboard ranking, and you cannot freeze it, you go up and down, then you're gonna have to perform every time. At least on a sample of 50 races the whole time. You probably will never see this, because we are always the ones who have comments and critiques on their game. So we're probably blacklisted by now, but in some way or another, if they must see it, we give them some points to think about. And hopefully they do something with it. There are still a few seasons to come before the next game, I would assume. So hopefully they make some adjustment to things that also the long-term people of the community want. We spent a few $100s on your game franchise over the years. We have pre-ordered every single one of your Crew games, but you're going a little bit too much to one side at the moment. It's a bit too much vanity and too much casualty, and you're not listening to the others anymore. We're also still here, Ivory Tower. Or the sea of competitives, 30% of the community, is also still here. Don't make this into a casual kids fest, because that's what's happening the last couple of weeks and months. Get your act back together on what you originally started as a Crew franchise. Don't give in to Forza boys with wheel spins. No, we don't want things for free. We are people that play the game, put time and effort in it, and get rewarded for it. That's a bit of a grind, that we know that, but that is how the Crew works. Lately, things get thrown at your head. It's starting too much to go to Forza. And then you're going to lose the die-hard long-term players because they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They're making this thing into a kindergarten now. Playground system. It's not... I'm very well aware that there are more new players and majority is casuals nowadays. Get it. But that's fine. But there is still 1/3 at least of the community which are competitives. And you're losing them with this crap. But we also paid a few $100 over the years, so we should also be hurt. That's all I have to say about it. That was my take on it after 10 seasons of Motorfest and 10,000 hours within the Crew franchise. It's going the wrong way at the moment. I will leave it at that. As for now, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.